Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. We are John and Wendy Williams, the Short-Term Rental Authority, your authority on all things short-term rental related to help make you the best operator ever. And today we are going to blow your mind with the 4 main things to consider to help get you booked. So let's get into it because it goes along with how we do a listing audit. So we get a lot of people come to us and say, hey, can you review my listing? So we thought that we would give you some tips on how we actually review listings and do listing audits. So what's the first thing that we need to consider here?
Well, I would say that you need to, the first thing you need to consider is who's your target customer. So we've talked about that a million times, but it bears repeating because it's very important to how you're going to develop the listing and who you're marketing to, right? So in that context, you want to be using the listing to your advantage to attract the customer that you're actually trying to attract, right? That makes sense. But a lot of times we see that that's not what's actually happening. So these kind of main areas that we're talking about are like the first things we go to. And what I like to think about is in the mind and in the shoes of the customer that you're trying to attract, you got to realize what their process is in finding you. And here we're talking about the OTAs. We're talking about in context of, hey, this is a listing on Airbnb or this is a listing on Vrbo. And the first thing I usually show people is, and it should be obvious, but it is once you see it, is the very first thing is you're going to show up in search. So you're going to show up in a list with a bunch of other properties. And the only thing really people have to go on, because remember, this listing is your sales and marketing. You're not there to talk to this person. They've just found you in search.
I think that is really... let's not just gloss over that.
Okay.
Because I don't think that a lot of people even have that realization or that mindset that your listing is actually your marketing and your first touch, if you will, to the customer.
Yeah, and also it's a sales process.
Yeah, and
is really what it is.
Sales process,
and it's a silent one because you're there on their computer looking at your listing, right?
Yes.
But there is a sequence of how that goes, right? That you show up in search. How do you get them to click on your listing and not the one right next to it?
Right.
Right. How do you even get them to stop scrolling?
Right.
In the search? And that's the very first thing you want to look at is, and because we are humans and we're visual, we tend to be looking at the pictures.
Right.
So as a consumer, you're scrolling through and you're looking at the pictures.
Right. And I would say that a lot of people, if you've ever gone to Airbnb or Vrbo or any of those OTAs and you're scrolling through those photos, what catches your eye? And
that's just it. Yeah.
Right. And that's what you need to focus on is, how do I catch my customer's eye? And as a designer, I would say that color is a really big factor in that.
It is, yeah.
And having, I don't know if I'm going too fast here, and if you were going to cover this, but having a really colorful first photo that's what's going to make people stop scrolling.
Yeah, and it bears saying that it's a photo. So it's that first one. So you got to think about, what's my first photo? Is it attractive? Does it catch the eye? It needs to be a statement photo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes I see someone has as their first photo a picture of a house.
Oh.
Or something.
Yeah.
Which, beyond being other concerns with that, it's just like, it's a house, right? And that's not what you're selling, you understand?
Right. Because this is not real estate.
Yeah, what you're actually trying to attract is someone who wants the experience, right? So you're not selling the house, you're not selling the apartment, you're really selling the experience. Now, there are some times when the experience is, hey, I want to be in a tree house, right? In those cases, maybe that is what you want to show. You know, if it's
Or one of those little tiny homes.
yeah, maybe. But even then, it's like it's not the home I'm after; it's the experience of it, right? And so it's that first photo that you need, and we tend to call those our money shots, because that's where you make your money.
Yep.
Is in those shots. So you want something very specific, something that is going to not only catch the eye, but catch the eye of the right customer,
Right.
the one you're trying to attract,
Right.
right? And so that's the first area is, hey, what's your first photo? Does it stop them scrolling? Does it make them want to click on the listing? And then the other thing that you can see in search is, well, you have control over your title, right? So Airbnb specifically recently changed this, and it was first photo, and then they used to show whatever your title was right under that, but now it just says, 2-bedroom house in whatever city, or 1-bedroom apartment in whatever city, or whatever, right? And then your title is below that, but it's not all of your title. If you'll notice, if you go to search, a lot of the times it's just the first part of the title.
Oh, that's interesting.
So that's the very next thing we're going to look at is, what is your title? And you get a certain number of characters, right? So you've got a certain amount of real estate there, no pun intended, to advertise your place. And again, get the click. That's what you're after in search, get the click. So what you want in your title is features that are important to the client that you're trying to serve.
Right.
And you want those features left to right.
So the most important is on the left.
Yes, the thing that you really want to advertise to attract that customer, you want on the far left of your title. So here's an example of a bad title: Cozy Cabin in the Woods.
Right.
Because it doesn't. It's kind of vague. It doesn't really tell me anything about the property, and I'm not sure exactly who you're trying to attract.
Cozy to me is code word for small.
It could be, but it's also vague.
It's very vague.
And it's subjective.
And it's like beautiful.
Right. That's another one. Like, you see that all the time. Or here's another mistake I see people make is they'll say 3-bedroom home. Well, they already know it's a 3-bedroom home because they filtered for that in search.
Right.
So generally I want things in the title that
are not
necessarily filters.
Yeah.
Or the main filters.
Yeah.
Like property type or number of bedrooms or whatever.
Right.
Right. Here's a good lead in for example, our client type are families with children and pets who are coming to the area for reasons, right, that we have described, in between housing, insurance claim on their property, life events, right? But saying pet friendly in my title doesn't help me because pet friendly is already a filter.
Right.
So instead of leading with pet friendly, I lead with fenced in backyard.
Fenced in backyard. Yep.
And that gets me the click. Right? Fenced in backyard. And then maybe the next thing is, gig Wi-Fi, and then maybe desk workspace or something,
or like 3 TVs.
Yeah. King beds.
King beds is a good
one.
Yeah.
Right. Again, these are things that are attractive to our client type.
Right.
Right. So that's how you want to structure your title. You want feature, 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 and you want most important feature to your client on the left to least important feature on your right, because we read left to right, and 2, in search, if you look at us as a consumer, your eyes are drawn to picture, and then you'll look down and see the first word in the title, and then you read left to right, right? So I'm after the click.
Right. So now we've gotten people to stop scrolling on our listing with their great first picture.
Yeah.
Right. That's got lots of color, and it's a picture of something that they are interested in. Then we've got the title. Now they've clicked on it, and now they see the title there, but they only see a little bit of the title.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Right. So now have they clicked on it?
Yeah, let's say we've earned the click.
Okay.
So we did a good job in search. We had a great first photo, lots of color,
Right.
stopped them from scrolling.
They've clicked on
The
it.
title said fenced in backyard, and they said that's us, and clicked on it.
Clicked on it. Okay. So
Right.
now they've clicked on it. Now what do we got to work with?
Well, now again, we on the internet, in a browser, or even on mobile, it's top to bottom.
Right.
Right.
So this is your listing here.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's now titles right at the top,
Mhm.
and now it's your full title.
Right.
So now it matters what else you said,
Right.
but still left to right.
Mhm.
So title's really important, because now you've got about, I don't know, 8 seconds to get this person to even want to look at the rest of your listing.
Right.
Right.
So you've got title,
So
and
you've got title right at the top. So
and
title again
is
important,
and pictures underneath
and the
that.
first 5 photos.
The first 5 photos.
So on a desktop,
Yes.
for example, you're going to see your first 5 photos listed there with a button that says show more photos.
Right. And that's what people are looking at now.
Right. Or on mobile, it's you're swiping.
Mhm.
So again, it's how many they're going to swipe a few times before
Right.
they say
Yeah.
and go to the next one, or they
Right.
say ooh,
Right.
show me more.
Right. So your first 5 photos now are going to be the next most
Yes.
important
So you've got
thing.
that first photo that is going to be there anyway, because that's what showed up in search.
Right.
But now those first 5 photos, because we're visual again, this is the next step in the sales process of, hey, do I want to go any further?
Mhm.
Right. And so those first 5 photos, one, shouldn't be of the same thing.
Right.
So if the first 5 photos are all of the living room,
Right.
then you haven't told me any more than you already told me in search.
Right.
Right. So what we do is we'll have the first 5 photos be sort of a mini tour of the property. And again, we're thinking, what are the features
Yes.
that my client is
customer,
looking for?
yes, wants to see.
Right. So in our case, the first 5 photos may include a picture of the fenced in backyard,
Mhm.
or a screenshot of the Wi-Fi speed.
Mhm. Or a desk and like the workspace.
Right. Or maybe it's showing a bedroom, a living room, the kitchen,
Mhm.
the washer and
Washer
dryer,
dryer's a good one.
or whatever. The
Yes.
first 5 things that, okay, now they're
A
more
swimming
interested.
pool,
It
for
could be a swimming
example,
pool.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever it is, that's for your client type.
Yep.
Because that's what you need to get them to even click show more photos.
Right.
Right. And then after that, it's okay, now let's take them on a full tour of the property.
Right. But people are going to go, once they click on your listing, they're going to see your title, and then they're going to see your first 5 pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And then what are they most likely to do next?
If
Probably
you've done a good job, they're going to say show more photos.
Show more photos.
Because again, we're visual.
Yes. And so now, once you have drawn them in with these first 5 photos, now let's talk about the rest of your photos.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got your first 5 photos, but you're going to need at least 25, 30
Yeah, 20 to
photos?
30 is
20
probably
to 30
optimal.
photos. So after your first 5 pictures, now let's talk about what the rest of your pictures look like.
Right. And that's what I was alluding to, is after the first 5, because those first 5 are your mini tour. It's your, hey, here's our great features that we built this for you. Wouldn't you like to see more?
And they're like, yes, show me more.
And then now we're talking about order of pictures.
Yes.
So after the first 5, I always suggest that, okay, now let's start at the front door and walk through the property.
Right.
Because what you don't want is a jumbled mix of pictures so that it's confusing to your guest of what they're actually looking at.
Right. Like if you've got one picture of the kitchen, and then your next picture is of a bathroom, and your next picture is of a bedroom, the customer doesn't understand the flow of the space, right? That's really what we're trying to do here is, after your first 5 pictures, your 6th picture is what do they see right when they open the door, for
Mhm.
example, right? Now you're going to take them on a tour of the space. When they open the door, what is the very first thing they're going to see, right?
Mhm.
Maybe it's the living room. And then now you're going to show them all your living room pictures.
Right. But when you say all your living room pictures, please don't take 10 pictures of your living
No,
room.
nobody needs to
Right.
see 10 pictures of a freaking living room.
Because remember, again, a lot of what's going on is on mobile. And on mobile, it's scroll, it's slide.
I would say
And so if I
max,
see living room, okay, you told me that story
Yeah,
already.
right, like
You're losing my interest.
3 or 4 max of the living room.
Yeah,
and-
that's a lot.
And if there's a sleeper sofa, please pull out the sleeper sofa. Make it up nicely, like put the comforter on the bed, pull the bed out, put the comforter on the bed, put the pillows on the bed, and then use those decorative throw pillows
Ways of design mode again.
that you've decorated the sofa with. Like, make it up like a regular bed so people can see it. Show, because if it's not in the pictures, it does not exist.
Yeah, that's a good rule for pictures. That's what you just said is a really good rule for pictures. If it's not in the photos, it doesn't exist. So I know you wrote it in your listing.
Because people aren't going to read.
I know you wrote it in your listing that you have a blender. But if you don't open the cabinets in the kitchen and show the blender,
Yes.
it's not there.
Yep.
If you don't show towels
Right.
in the bathroom,
It won't
it's
register.
not there.
Right.
Right. So
Exactly.
tour the property, but everything that's in drawers, show that
Yeah.
if there's something in the drawer,
Right.
particularly the kitchen.
Yeah. For sure.
If you have a closet that has a stroller in it, open the closet and show where the stroller is,
And hangers and
then pull it out and show it like a pack and play. Show where it is.
Yep.
And then show it put up.
Mm-hmm.
Assembled. Because this is also, your pictures are not only marketing, but they're also later, where do I find that? Oh, in the pictures, it was in this closet. Oh, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
All those kind of things. So that's pictures, that's order of pictures. We could talk a lot more about pictures and order of them, but that's a whole
Right.
podcast.
So
in itself.
now people they've clicked on your listing. You've got a really great title. You've got really great first 5 photos. They said, yeah, this looks great. Show me more. So they've clicked on view more photos.
Mhm.
And now they're like, oh man, this place looks really great. Now what are they going to do?
Well, they may just book it.
They may.
They may just book it. So at any point in the process, it's important to note that may be the end of it, but it may not be.
Right.
And okay, now we need to go down the next garden path to get the booking, right?
Which is
down the page.
Yes.
It's the very next thing. It's your description.
It's your description. Yep.
And it doesn't show your entire description, by the way. It shows the first part of it with, again, show more. Just like the pictures, it only shows 5 with show more,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the very first thing you say in your listing description should, again, speak to that client. And the worst thing you can do is write a giant paragraph, because people don't read.
Right.
People scan.
Right.
Just like the pictures tell a lot of story, your words now are where we're at. And you want that very first sentence to be a sentence that talks to your client. And then the rest of that thing should be bullet points.
Yes.
It should look more like an outline than a book.
Paragraph.
Yeah. It should look like an outline.
Right. And you're really bulleting here the things that would appeal the most to the customer that you are trying to attract.
Right. That's a theme, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So everything in here is what appeals to my client.
Yep.
So we even put like black stars around the things we want to highlight,
Yeah.
because that, again, draws your eye to that.
Yes.
So they'll skip the paragraph and look at the things that have stars around.
Yep.
Right. And again, it's hitting those same things. Here's the Wi-Fi speed. Here's the distance it is. That's usually where we show distances
Yes. To things that they are
that they would be interested
that they
in.
would be interested in, that why they're coming.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So to landmarks
Yes.
that
right.
are important to
So
your client.
if you're serving business travelers, for example, put the convention center
Yeah, 2 miles to convention.
2 miles to Or medical travels, put the hospitals on there, for
Mhm.
example.
Or what's the distance to the airport?
Or airport, right.
Right. Whatever is important to your client type.
Mhm.
But again, it's in bullet point, lots of space in between words and
Yes.
sentences, no
Yes.
paragraphs,
Right.
none
Very
of that
easy
kind of
to
stuff.
read.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very scannable
Mhm.
with highlights of the things you really want them to know.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
And that very first sentence needs to be enticing enough to even want to read the rest of it.
Mhm.
Right.
So
So
there we usually use really colorful language
yes.
here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really descriptive adjectives.
Descriptive adjectives.
Yes.
Okay. Coming from the
Yes.
English teacher.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Right.
Colorful language.
Yeah. So your description is last. So we went in order of first picture, first half of your title to full title, first 5 pictures, the rest of your pictures, and now the description.
Mhm.
And see how that's a process in the way that people are actually using the platform.
Right.
And we're all along the way saying, hey, here's the features that you will like. Here's the features you will like. Here's to whatever that you're going to,
Mhm.
right?
And we also list everything, like all the amenities in there too.
We do.
Like central AC or something like
pots
that.
and pans.
Pots and pans.
The blender,
The
right?
blender, there's a toaster, all the
Right.
things that our guests would be interested, a Keurig, K-cups,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing, right? Creamer. So then, and we also list all those amenities too, right? So now, after they've read their description, they're like, oh man, this sounds really great. What are they going to do next?
Hopefully book it.
Well, right.
But they might go read your reviews.
Yes.
Right.
Right. Next, people are usually, the next step in that is, if they haven't booked it by now, they're going to go check you out.
Yeah.
And see what other people have said about this particular listing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things, that's one of the reasons I think that a lot of people use Airbnb platforms like Airbnb.
Yeah, because they don't know you.
Right. And not only that, it's social proof.
Mm-hmm.
That's the word that I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's what has other people's experience been like staying in your space,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they want to know more about you, because they've never booked on a platform like Airbnb before. Maybe they're a new user and they don't know what to expect. Or maybe they do use a platform like Airbnb or Vrbo a lot, and they've had all these different types of experiences, and they don't know what to expect, because there's no such thing as an Airbnb.
Right. Like that could be anything, right?
It could be anything. They want to know what to expect in your listing.
Right. So how do you control that though? Because you don't write reviews. Other people write reviews.
Right.
So what do you do?
Well, you create the experience for the customer that you want to serve.
Right. And I want to say that's a big part of good reviews, is the fact that you did attract the right customer and you are giving them the experience that they wanted. And so part of getting good reviews is having good marketing that's targeted at the person that this place actually is designed to serve.
Yes.
Because that's where bad reviews usually come from.
It usually is, yes.
It's someone who walks into your property that either doesn't appreciate the features that are there because they're not using them, it's not their target client type, or someone who, it's kind of like a Nordstrom customer that walks into a Walmart.
Right.
Right.
Or a Target.
Or a Walmart customer that walks into a Nordstrom.
Right.
Like there's nothing wrong with Walmart or Nordstrom. It's more about what your expectation was when you walked in there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
The Walmart customer is going to say, well, Nordstrom, I'm not paying $90 for a t-shirt.
Right.
Right. But the Nordstrom customer may walk into a Walmart and say, I'm not walking all around this store. I need somebody to help me, you know, and what's the quality of this t-shirt?
Right.
Right. So one doesn't appreciate the other, but they both make money. And you got to think about that in terms of who you're attracting as well.
Yeah.
So reviews, you're right, it has a lot to do with who you attract.
Yeah.
But there's one other component of a reviews that you can control.
Is your response.
It's your responses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the main thing to think about when you are, well, number one, you should be responding to reviews.
Yeah, and you could be responding to a good review, or you could be responding to a not so good review.
Right.
Right.
But regardless, you should be responding to reviews because people will read that.
Yeah.
And when you are doing that, remember that you are not talking to the guest who left the review necessarily.
That's true.
You are talking to potential guests.
Yeah, who are reading the review.
Who are reading the review, and then they're reading your response to the review.
Right, because that gives them an idea of what's the interaction like with this host.
Yes.
Right? And so if it's a good review, you want to write something back that's, appropriate for a good review that shows that, hey, you are interactive with
and you're
your
appreciative.
Clients, and you're appreciative of them.
Right. Choosing you.
And you cared that they had a good experience.
Yes, that you cared.
It shows that you cared.
Yes, it does.
And that goes a long way.
Sure enough.
But what about a bad review?
Well,
so that goes back to what you were saying.
Right.
You're really writing a response to a bad review to not that person.
Not that person.
Right.
To a potential guest.
Because sometimes that can be emotional. Like somebody leaves you a bad review and you're like,
yeah. Oh, it used to really hurt my heart.
Especially when it was something that maybe it wasn't even in your control. Like they were expecting one thing and that's just not what your product is.
Right.
Or something. Right. Or, it was something about, the neighbors did something. It had nothing to do with you at all, really.
Right.
That you couldn't control.
Like the power went out.
Or the power went out.
Right.
And sometimes it is something you did. Sometimes it is, we aren't imperfect.
Right. Yeah. Like sometimes.
I mean, we aren't perfect. We are imperfect.
Right. Like we dropped the ball somewhere.
Yeah. And so that calls, so it's, so how do you respond then?
Well, it's important to take the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
When you are responding. So don't respond with, well, this guest,
they didn't listen and didn't read.
They didn't read my description. If they had read the description, they would have seen that this was an apartment and not a house.
Right. That actually happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So take the emotion out of your response and just be very professional. And if they, for example, didn't follow a house rule, maybe just state that as per our house rules, we don't accept parties, for example.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Like I'll use language like this when I respond to a review. I will say something like, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a good one.
Megan, I'm just making up a name. Unfortunately, Megan, experience wasn't up to her standards. We do use professional cleaning crew and, we've addressed this issue and we fixed it or whatever it was, right? Whatever the issue was, it's usually, okay, we heard her, we have addressed it. This is what we've done. It's now not that way anymore, right? Whatever it was, a bad review usually comes from something about cleaning, or something about, it can just be retaliatory sometimes.
Yeah.
They had a party and we don't allow parties.
Right.
Unfortunately, Megan had 15 guests,
right,
and we had to ask them to not do that.
Right.
Right. And then people will understand that, okay, this isn't the norm. This is what happened, type thing.
Right.
Or, this is a norm. It looks like they've addressed it. Right. The worst thing you do is just let it sit.
Sure.
And not say anything.
Sure. For sure.
So yeah, responding to your reviews, both good and bad, is critical, I think.
Yeah.
To a good
and I think that if somebody were to be looking at your unit and they're thinking about having a party, then
that's a good point too, yeah.
and you've responded to this review. Now they're almost put on notice, like we know that this is going down, we're watching.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of tends to deter people who have malicious intents that may want to.
Yeah, that's a good point.
May want to have a party.
Yeah.
A good way to kind of deter that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, I better not book this place.
Right.
I'm really looking to have a party.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, they're going to be watching me.
That's a good point. So, I mean, not everybody that clicks on your listing, do you want them to book it?
Yeah,
right.
Right.
So you want to be very clear about, in all those other things we talked about too, very clear about, hey, here's what you're getting.
Yep.
Here's what you can expect.
Yes.
If that's you, then
welcome.
Please like and subscribe to our listing.
Totally.
5 stars. We click again.
Right.
Right. So hopefully with all those tips, now you've got the booking, and you've got the booking from the right person.
Yes.
Who's then going to add to those reviews that we just talked about.
Exactly. Because they know what to expect.
Yeah.
And they know what kind of experience they're going to be having.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you've thought about them.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what it really comes down to.
That's the thing. And we've said it millions of times. That's where it all starts.
Yeah.
It all starts with you as the operator first thinking about who you're serving.
Who do you want to attract?
Who do you want to attract in your space? That's the very first thing to help make you the best operator ever.
Yes.
Is think about who you're serving.
Yeah.
So hopefully that has been helpful and you have enjoyed listening to us ramble about all those things. Well, hopefully it has really been helpful. We do strive to be helpful and to add value.
Well, sometimes there's so much more, because I could just sit here and talk about this for an hour.
I know. And it's really hard to rein you in.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
So I try to.
When he makes a list, and he's like, we're talking about this, this, and this.
Because you'll go off in rabbit holes, and I just got to reel you back in.
Hey, man, you almost talked about sofa beds for like 5 minutes there.
That's not true. That was not 5 minutes. I mean, 1 point. But hopefully you enjoyed my tip about the sofa bed. And
leave us a comment. Did you enjoy the tip about sofa bed?
And if you did, like and subscribe so that you can hear more tips about other things besides sofa beds, because we have so much more to talk about.
We do.
So. But hopefully you did, and we will see you next time.
On to the next.